Welcome to another episode of Tastie Dine. So today's episode is all about bread. Soft, fluffy, condensed milk bread with no hassle of slicing them. So shall we begin? It can't get any better than this. To activate the yeast, you'll need warm water, half a cup of milk, and a sweetener of your choice. I'm just using Lakanto monk fruit sweetener. Next is your active dry yeast. So add it into the liquids. Then add your sweetener or whatever sugar you're using. I'm using only 2 tablespoons. Yes, tablespoons to activate the yeast because yeast needs some sugar in their life as well. Combine everything together and set it aside for 10 minutes. In a stand mixer's bowl, add the first part of 3 1/4 cups of flour. In goes 3 tablespoons or 50 grams of margarine. Next is measuring the condensed milk, sweetened condensed milk for that matter, and we only need 1/4 cup for it. Instead of sugar granules, we'll be using liquid type of sugar. That's why we're using sweetened condensed milk for this part. Set part of the remaining aside for later use. Crack an egg into the flour mixture, and this will be part of the binding liquids that we'll need for the bread, as well as the rest of the liquids like the condensed milk and the already activated yeast mixture. Once we start combining all the ingredients together, you'll realize that the mixture will be very wet and sticky, hence needing part 2 of the dry ingredients. That's 3 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. Attach the dough hook of your stand mixer and start kneading the dough for at least 10 minutes without stopping. And remember, the dough will be wet, so don't forget to add more flour if need be, but if not, continue kneading. As much as part 1 of the kneading has already been done for us with the help of a stand mixer, the second part of the kneading you'll be required to start kneading it with your bare clean hands. So I'm just needing to feel the texture of the dough, if it's well done or if it needed a little bit of more effort. And this is why you really need to massage the dough and make sure it's well kneaded. The texture of the dough is soft, it's not tacky, it's not sticky, and it's just some kind of therapy for me. So in goes a little bit of oil into the stand mixer that we use to knead the dough, and we're just going to roll it. Make sure the dough is well oiled and ready for fast proofing. 1 hour later, the dough should have risen or doubled in size, and now it's time to prepare the dough by rolling it. But first, let's remove the air out of the dough by pressing it down in the middle and removing it completely from the bowl itself onto the counter surface to make sure that there's no more air bubbles as we plan to divide the dough and roll it out for the next step. With the help of your palms, spread the dough outwards. It should feel super soft, and that's the kind of texture or consistency we need for this milk bread. Just continue spreading it out until a semi-rectangle shaped dough. When you get to this stage, you'll feel exactly what I'm feeling. It's so soft and I can't stop pressing the dough outwards. With the help of a bench scraper, divide the dough into only 2 sections, and we'll start with the first section by elongating the dough and lightly rolling it upwards and outwards. Starting from the short edge near you, start rolling it upwards and away from you, making sure you do not attract or trap any air bubbles in while doing so. Continue the process until you reach the other end of that dough. Once you reach to the other end of the edge, make sure to fasten by pinching the ends of the dough together to make sure it doesn't unravel while it bakes. Now is to divide the dough first into 2 halves and then 3 other portions on each half. As per their cut, assemble each piece into a well-prepared loaf tin. Set them aside for the second proofing by covering them with a cling film and waiting for them to double in size. 30 minutes later, they have already proofed up and ready for the oven. Make sure your oven is preheated. Into a small bowl, I've cracked an egg and added a teaspoon of milk, and I'm just mixing the two together to brush the mixture on each risen dough. I mean, let's be realistic for a minute here. I'm not using the proper tool for an egg wash brushing, so if you have a proper pastry brush, please use it for this egg wash section. Now that our dough is ready to be baked in the preheated oven at 180 degrees Celsius, bake them for only 22 minutes. As our bread is baking in the oven, let's prepare a sweet and buttery glaze that is optional, but I mean, let's go all out on this particular recipe. So it's a matter of 45 grams or 3 tablespoons of margarine and condensed milk, and just mixing all that together to form this sweet buttery texture glaze on top of the semi-hot bread that just came out of the oven. So shall we? I know I'm crossing a line while using a paintbrush instead of a pastry brush, but that's what I currently have on hand. And I repeat, please use proper tools when it comes to applying something or some content on top of a baked good like bread for this matter. So use proper tools like an actual pastry brush. So just bear with me for this one, but I mean, it did the job. It really did the job, but it took forever. I believe that this came out really, really good. Look at the patterns of each particular slice, if I may say. The spiralness on each end of the bread looks really, really good and presentable, and the shine from the glaze of the condensed milk and butter just makes everything so good. And let's not forget strawberry jam, because what is bread without strawberry jam? Look at that. It's so fluffy. I can't wait to dig in. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, bon appétit.